picture about Elon Musk and his hand gesture and looked at the other pictures of the other people who were making such hand gestures. And I said, I saw it. I didn't see anything wrong with it. And it's just amazing how many people are so sensitive. And that's fine. That's the type of society and the type of world that we live in. Um, I remember one time where I was driving home from Fort Campbell and driving to Chicago. And I remember because Southern hospitality is a thing. And there was a guy who was driving next to us. This is when I was married. And there was a guy who was driving next to us. And Southern hospitality was a thing. And the guy was like this. He had waved his hand like that. And we thought it was so nice. We waved our hand back. You know, I'm just tired. Black folks are sensitive when they hear the N word. A certain class of people are sensitive when they see anything remotely close to a period of time where they were unjustly treated. Like, when do we move past certain hand gestures and assume positive intentions? Why is it always this assume negative intentions? Look, I said what I said. I showed what I showed. And if you think I give a about whether or not you're still subscribed to my channel, you must not understand who I am. I'm a regular, average person who just creates certain things and posts them up. I was who I was before I even had 1 million subs. I lost 2 million with the TikTok thing. And this was even before the ban. You see what I'm saying? And now it's resurrected. I still don't have that 2 million platform, and nothing has changed for me. I wasn't changing because I had the profile. I wasn't changing because I had any of those things. It's like and that's one of the reasons why I am proud to say I voted for Trump. I am proud to say I voted for Trump because I am so tired of this wokeism stuff. I'm so tired of everybody being, don't get me wrong, for things that are overtly insensitive, for things that are, and even that has context with it. Look, I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of this shit. I really am. Not tired to the point where it's mentally, psychologically draining. No, because I just blocked the shit out. I don't really care. But if you want to unsubscribe to me because I posted that picture with Elon Musk and the other ones doing the same hand gesture, if you are that offended where you think, oh my God, Hitler is about to come back and the Holocaust 2.0, if that's where you are, get the fuck off my page. I mean, this really isn't even my page. I don't own this. This is Google's thing where they have YouTube and they allow me to express my thoughts and my opinions so long as it meets community guidelines. We're all but shadows and dust. We're all but shadows and dust. I don't really care. I don't care. I don't even really make money off this page like that anyway. I don't even post content like that anyway. Why? Because some of you Second Amendment motherfuckers, you disgust me. You absolutely disgust me. And I had to step away. I had to take a break. Why? Because all you all know is guns. Oh, what's the latest type of gun? Oh, what is it? Like somebody asked me on one of the, and if you get offended by what I said, hey, kick rocks. I don't care. Jimmy Pickles, you're about to get blocked. You're about to get blocked. Why are you hating on the Best Amendment? The Best Amendment is the First Amendment, free speech. The Second Amendment is there to support the first. So the Second Amendment is not the Best Amendment. The First Amendment is the Best Amendment. The Second Amendment is just what it is. But guess what? You weren't born with a gun. You weren't born with a gun. You were not born with a firearm. I said what I said. You weren't born with a firearm. There is so much. If I had to do things over again, I would have not have started this YouTube channel. I would not have, because the Second Amendment community, in my opinion, is a community where if you don't have rational detachment, you could get sucked into firearms being your only everything. There's so much more to life than just firearms. There's so much more to life than just your idea. You know, George Washington said something about political parties, and this could be attributed to a percentage of this, right? So with political parties, President George Washington didn't have a problem with people getting together to get things done. What he had a problem with was political parties, because political parties, or things that, are a thing, whatever, you begin to attach yourself to that and then make yourself that thing or that identity. It becomes you. Case in point, you're a police officer. Now, you've got some psychological issues within you from your childhood that have not been resolved. And so instead of it being, it is I that am a police officer, I am not the police. You see what I'm saying? You begin to attach yourself to that thing, and everything within that community, it becomes a part of your identity. Sorry, I had to block somebody. It becomes a part of your identity. The military, you got psychological issues from your childhood or your teenage years, or both, and then you join the military, and now everything, it becomes a part of your life, and then you carry that after you ETS into, it's like you hang on to that. Law enforcement, you hang on to that. Whatever it is you do, you hang on to that. You don't see somebody who works for McDonald's who all of a sudden they left McDonald's and now all of a sudden you're carrying that into your life. It was a thing you did for the time you did. Take the good, learn from the bad, or whatever the case may be, and then move on. Move on. Move on. You see what I'm saying? And that's where I'm at with it. Second Amendment. Oh my God. Hey, Instructor Mike, I got a question about the gun. Oh, what type of gun do you? Look. I got the firearms that I have. I teach firearms, but you're more than just those things. There were times where I went through some personal issues, things I didn't ask for, but some personal issues. Jimmy, you're gone. I don't want you here anymore. Personal issues, where with those personal issues, it caused me not to be able to possess a firearm during that time. Won the case, got my stuff back. But I appreciated that time. I appreciated that time. Why did I appreciate that time? Because I was able to do a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. I avoid conflict like the plague, with or without a gun. But I was able to do a lot of things that had nothing to do with teaching firearms, carrying guns, stuff like that. Those things gave me perspective to be able to step away from the always gun Second Amendment community. Ooh, what's the latest gun you got out? Ooh, this gun you got isn't enough. Let's get another gun. Pride from my cold, dead hands. There's another content creator. I'm not going to say his name. It's not important. He got raided by the FTF, the ATF. Well, if you don't support me and what happened to me, then you're not for the Second Amendment. Bro, you're flashing your firearms all over, all kinds of different firearms, all over social media. And you thought the ATF wasn't going to come for your head? That's not wisdom at all. You brought that on yourself. You brought that on. Now you want the rest of us to sacrifice our stuff to come advocate for you. Look, those who want to, you be the fool. Those over here who think like or better than me, we gonna use wisdom with this. We're not gonna sacrifice our stuff for you being a whole goofy. Not everything needs to be on social media. You self-snitching. Does that stuff make sense? All right, I'm done with it. I got to get back to my schoolwork. I said what I said. You self-snitching. You self-snitching. You the one's one of those pry it from my cold dead hands until they come to pry it from your cold dead hands. What? Oh man, we wonder why the ATF is being unfair. You asked them to come to your doorstep. When you did that, you're asking them to enter into your life. No, I'm not supporting such foolishness. You said they should make insurance be a requirement when purchasing a firearm, and the more and more your monthly premium goes up, more like cars the more you have to pay. I can understand that, Oliver. I can understand that. Just like they should require. My cats are trying to heal me. Take care. Good luck with your channel. Continued success. Thanks, Mr. UFO. I don't know what that means. I'm dealing with a head cold and possibly bronchitis, and your cats are trying to heal me. I guess. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. So, look. I said what I said. I hope this is the start of a new golden era. I hope all this cancelization and wokeism stuff goes right out the window. You know, thank you, JPK. Was it Andreasen? I hope that's what I'm saying. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. You said it's scary, all of it. What's scary? And then you get folks who are trolls, Second Amendment people who come on here, I have diarrhea. What does that have to do with the conversation? You see what I'm saying? Like, the left has a point to a percentage of the people in the Second Amendment community. Like, outside of the firearm, you really have some psychological issues. Like, you're great with the firearm, but you really have some psychological issues. That's one of the reasons why I don't go live as much. You know, I don't create as much content, you know, on my channel. You know what I'm saying? I don't, you know. I talk about things relative to guns and gun safety, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm really tired of it. I'm tired of it. It's, you said when I come teach a class in Colorado, you all have enough instructors out that way. I mean, every time I answer that question on social media, would I come teach a class, it never goes anywhere. Am I a pastor? I look like one. Sure, I'm a pastor, I guess. On the small side, the motorcade seemed massive this year. They at least had at least 2 tax squads. What I saw, peeped an angle when they were at Blair House testing thermals, taking no chances. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, that's a good thing. You said my short videos are a beast? Thanks. The run is going good, Joseph. I support your channel. It teaches a lot about safety. Is that real? Is that really Lil Reese? What's up, man? I'm up to about 5K. Yeah, 5K is what I run. 5K Monday and Tuesday, 10K Wednesday. Thursday and Friday at 5K. Michael Jeter, what's up? How hard would it be to get my FOI card back on a misdemeanor charge? Where you convict? That misdemeanor sounds like domestic battery. Yeah, that misdemeanor sounds like domestic battery. All right, take care, Happy Buggy. No for misdemeanor possession of a firearm. Are you in Illinois, Chicago? Is the case still going or is it over with? Thanks, James. Illinois State Police. I cannot in good conscience recommend Chicago Police Department. Historically, Chicago Police of today, you can't do your job. Case is over. What was the disposition? Illinois State Police, you can still be the police. I mean, granted, you're not helping with enforcement raids and stuff like that, but you can still be the police. Yeah, I cannot in good conscience recommend Chicago Police Department. They came in my class, the recruiting and retention. Can y'all do me a favor, hit the like button? They came in recruiting and retention, and they did a speech before 51 of my students. The speech was horrible. The speech was horrible. Oh my God, recruiting and retention. The speech was horrible. Absolutely horrible. It was horrible. It was so horrible. They were bland. They didn't have any enthusiasm. Who would want to join Chicago Police Department with them coming in being bland? It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. I think you could tap. If you just Google Instructor Mike, my website, contact information, all that stuff pops up. Yeah, it would have to be state police. Danielle, you said Philadelphia is bad. Never forget, if the Germans will rise again, this will be our end. Third time is a charm, and these people are another level. They are different. Today's Germans are not the same as the 1939 and the 14. What are y'all talking? I want to say something so bad, but the one thing that community knows how to do is cancel a person, and I don't have time for unnecessary conflict. So I'm going to keep my opinions to myself. But I will say this, and this is a safe statement. Fuck it, I ain't going to say it. I don't care. We said we need more of you in the force. Nah, I ain't trying to be the police no more. I'm good. I like the direction my country is going in. Are you in America? How time did it take you to get everything on that wall? This isn't even a quarter of the stuff that I got, whatever credentials I got. It's just a lot of time, just a lot of stuff. Let's try this way, Democrats. What does that mean? What made me get into this field? I used to be a police officer. I used to be in the military. Now I teach security classes, concealed carry, stuff like that. Did we all turn our clocks back to 1937, Germany on January 20th? Let's not even talk about politics and pray for the best. I'm not praying for the best. I'm not praying for the best. I'm not worried about where our country is going. I don't live my life thinking about stuff like that. There are local things that we need to be thinking and worrying about. Does that make sense? Like, people worried about Trump and you a bad parent. Does that make sense? People worried about Trump and your child don't like you. You know what I'm saying? People worried about Trump and your child just wants you to take them outside and have fun with them. You've lost connectivity to what it's like to live. You worried about things on a macro level instead of worried about things on a micro level within the four walls. That should be a concern of most people. Trump don't even know your name. Are you totally done with law enforcement, or would you return to law enforcement as a command staff member or a chief of suburban department? No, I'm not totally done with law enforcement. Hell no. I would never return to law enforcement as a chief of a suburban department if that suburban department is in Cook County or in a liberal county. I would never do it. Ever. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. I would never do it. If I knew then what I know now, I would have never worked for any of the departments I was with. They don't appreciate law enforcement. Not that I would get the job to want to be appreciated, but here's this. If I were to advise someone, I'll explain. If I were to advise someone as to what to look for when you're going to be a law enforcement officer, here's what I would advise. Do me a favor. Could y'all hit that like button? Here we go. Here's what I would advise. One, you know how when you go to try to be a police officer, you know how they're going to do a background investigation on you, your past, all that other stuff. Wait long before you choose wrong. Wait long before you choose wrong. What I would suggest you as a candidate do, I would suggest that you investigate the town. You see how the town is. How are the schools educating the kids? What are the schools educating the kids in? How the kids react to the teachers and the parent-teacher interactions. I would go and look at the town, the football, the sports venues, the community centers, the downtown, the shops, and see if they're frequented by the locals and see if this is a community worth protecting. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Like, is this worth defending? Is this worth defending? Is this town worth defending? Because if this town is a total mess, they're going to expect the police department and its members to try to fix the crime and all that other stuff. The police should be, strike that. The community should be stronger than the police, not the police stronger than the community. You see what I'm saying? Like, if the community is stronger than the police, then it makes the police's job even better. It makes the police become a part of a working community that does at least a C or B level satisfactory job of policing itself, where they care about the children and the adults in the community. Does that make sense? And if that community doesn't do that, I couldn't police there. 100% of the communities that I worked in were trash. They were trash communities. They were trash. The politics, no, 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 no. Horrible. So I'm just saying, you're only making your job as a future police officer worse when you decide to go where the action is. Well, where the action is likely a result of a community that is horribly dysfunctional. You see what I'm saying? Horribly dysfunctional. Functioning communities still need police, but they just operate and look different. The kind of problems that you see on TV, they don't have those in those type of communities as much. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my opinion for what it's worth. All right, let's say what I said. Why the heck do you Americans hate us Canadians? So I can't speak to that, Green. I can't speak to that. All the defunding the police movement must be held accountable. Okay, that's not where I wanted to take this conversation, but I'm not going to let you all do that. I hope you were still here, Danielle. Does that make sense? You said you were in Philly. Same difference. I came to Philly for a children's book tour. Went to the West Side Philadelphia YMCA. And I was at the hotel across from Maggiano's. I know you know what I'm talking about. Right by the train center. Right by the train center. I don't know if it's called the train center. I'm just explaining the visuals, because Maggiano's is right across the street. The hotel was there. You get what I don't know what street it was called. I don't know. But there was it looked like a train center. I don't know, something, right? But it was nice. It was nice. I went on a tour downtown Philly, saw Liberty Bell, all that stuff. It was beautiful. And then I went to West Philadelphia. And you could tell when you're going down whatever that street was, how shit was getting dark. Liquor store, liquor store, liquor store, liquor store, daycare center, daycare center, daycare center. And then I had all my books and all my presentation, all my stuff set up. And I was going over to one of the places near the YMCA for a meet and greet. I was like, I don't know, I'm good. I don't want to meet y'all. I stayed in the car and just drove back and went to Maggiano's. So I had fun while I was there, but it's just like all the places, you get what I'm saying. Certain areas are nicer than others. Yes, for sure. For sure. Green Gordon, go hug your kids. I'm going to put you in timeout. You're obviously here to talk about Canadian stuff, and that has not, I'm not interested in talking about any of that stuff. Have I ever been to Pittsburgh? Yes, I have been there. Allegheny County, the Sheriff's Department, I've been there, yeah. Am I Canadian? Sure, moving on. It's really good. Cop district or bad, dirty cop districts, but most of our districts are corrupt. I'm not surprised, yeah. God bless you too. Thank you. Thank you, Jelly Bean. Do you expect crime to drop massively post deportations? Has it been drastically elevated in the past few years? Um, it's going to be interesting to see how these deportations happen. Um, I'm in Chicago, so I'm literally in ground zero where we're going to see these things happen. So it would be interesting to see how they happen. I got my first ticket when I was 15 on a bicycle. No more freeloading, Bob. All right. Already happening in Texas. They started yesterday. Hey, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah, that's really what it is. It's really a wait and see world that we're living in now. Yeah. What are my thoughts on Uncle Brandon Johnson? I'll tell you this. My thoughts on Brandon Johnson is Brandon Johnson is not making a good relationship with the governor. So it's interesting to see them have their little back and forth. Um, Brandon Johnson is being used. That's basically what I can say. You said I work for Department of Military now for vets. It's just a business to them. Yeah. Um, Brandon Johnson is being used. That's really what it is. Brandon Johnson is being used. You said Trump ain't gonna give Chicago crap. No, I don't see it happening either. No, no. Thanks, Dale. I appreciate that. Thanks for the $10 cash app. Um, yeah, Dale supports me all the time. I appreciate that. Yeah, I look at it like let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. You said you live here in Chicago too? Nah, Trump ain't gonna give Chicago nothing. Although that's my opinion of Brandon. Brandon's being used. What degrees do I have? This is my associate's degree in sewing. This is my associate's degree in cake baking. This is my associate's degree in associateship. And that's my chief associates of science degree in non-science, actual non-affairs. This is my associate's degree in tea making. This is my associate's degree in tea bagging. This is my I'm just bullshitting. That's my master's degree over there. That's my force science analyst certification. That is the ASP tactical weapons instructor, USCCA instructor, law enforcement firearms instructor, instructor for the state of Maryland, anger management associations and certificate. I'm a notary. What's that one over there? Oh, trauma informed coach. I'm a parenting instructor. What's this other one? Oh, creating and designing effective programming. And then this was me when I was skydiving. I don't put all my stuff on the wall, but that's less than a quarter of the stuff that I have certifications in. When I said associate in teabagging, I'm about to get my skydiving license, so that was a tandem jump that I did right there. You see what I'm saying? That's why I say when there's more to life than just guns, you gotta live life. And I'm going to get my... You said the teabagging joke took you out. Oh. Is it another continent? Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Follow you from London, but I'm Brazilian. Your content is amazing. Thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate that. See, it's comments like that that make me want to continue to post things on my page. I don't want to just post guns, y'all. I don't. I do so much. I do so many other things besides just firearms. Do I have a degree in marriage? No, but I could probably help you in yours. I'm a trauma-informed coach. I teach a lot of things regarding parenting, early childhood education, a variety of things. You would never know unless you ask me. Ask me a question, you would ask, what happened to the running shorts? I'll post them. I'll post them if you want. I still run. I just did 7 miles, not yesterday, but what was it? I'm letting my ankle heal. The back of my ankle was getting a little sore, so I'm not going to injure myself. So I'm just resting for some days to let it heal so I can get back to running. Because I am not trying to injure myself. You injure yourself, you're done. You said that I hurt myself? I feel pain in the back of my ankle. Nothing I can't manage. You say you've been with the same woman for over 35 years? Well, I was married for 21 years. And I was active in the marriage only for 7 of those years. Longevity in marriage, yeah, that means it's sustained. And I'm not talking about yours, Wayne. I'm not talking about yours. But I'm just saying in general, whenever someone says how long they've been doing something, does that make sense? Longevity in something does not mean that it was fruitful or productive. How long have those military planes been in the boneyard? For years, not doing nothing. You see what I'm saying? So you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. I guess. Mike, I reached out to you about your hoodie you were wearing. Mississippi Advocate, appreciate your content. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. We know, Mike, I enjoy the videos you post teaching the youth and helping them deal with everyday issues that no one will give them the skills to navigate through due to their upbringing. Yes, Slum. Yes, thank you. How much does it cost to get a CCL in Lake County, Illinois? I don't know. I don't know. Dr. Giggles asked a question. Y'all can ask me questions you would ask a therapist. The best way to find out what I know is to ask me. Should I ever get married? I got a bunch of married guys at work tell me not to get married. I personally don't think it works in the modern age. Here's my opinion about marriage. And I love that you guys are asking me this. No, that's not the point of marriage. I mean, don't get me wrong. If that's your opinion, that's fine. You have the right to believe. Look, okay, let me go here. Marriage is a tool. It could be used for a variety of different things, okay? It depends on what you want to get married for. That's the best way to describe that. As one divorce or family law attorney said, there are on-label uses for marriage, and then there are off-label uses for marriage. Some people get married for immigration. Some people get married for benefits. Some people get married for legacy. Some people get married for a variety of different things. Does that make sense? Now, Wayne Schultz said the people who failed shouldn't be given advice. That's absolutely incorrect. If failure is a part of success, if you've learned from it, then why wouldn't you talk to the people who have failed, who have learned things from the marriage to help you avoid the pitfalls that are coming your way? Why wouldn't you talk to those people? You see what I'm saying? And that's part of the reason why mistakes keep getting repeated over and over again, because you never talk to someone who has actually failed in that thing, and you've never bothered to learn any lessons from those things, right? You said that's negative. You're not a failing or a failure. I agree. Well, if Wayne is right and you shouldn't be listening to me, you asked the question, why would I listen to you? Let me help you out. Let me send you on out. So that way you can go hug your kids and not waste time listening to someone like me. You see how that is? So, I cannot speak for women, but I can speak for men, right? When you get married too soon or out of season, you rob yourself of a lot of personal development that you need to give yourself before you get married. There is such a thing as Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development, right? So when you look at Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development, you look at the different stages, right? Your arrogance gets in the way, and then you kick them out when confronted with different views. Yes, Wayne, just like I'm about to kick you out. So I'm going to give you one more time to say, and I'll answer your question a soul bar before. I want to hear Wayne or read Wayne. Good. Okay, I just want you to say one more thing. Now I'm going to go on ahead and kick you out. There you go. Good. All right. See how that works? Good. So why didn't my marriage last? My marriage didn't last because I got married too soon. Okay. I got married when I was in the military. I was only 20, and I only knew her for 6.5 weeks. Let that sit. 20, and only knew her for 6.5 weeks. What do you think could have been the cause of that? It was a mistake. Absolutely. A mistake. What is a mistake? An action or a judgment that is misguided or wrong. An action or a judgment that was misguided or wrong. You see what I'm saying? You said that can be changed. Well, what does that mean? Trauma bonding. Yes, Calvin. That's trauma bonding. That is absolutely what that is, right? Marriage is a beautiful institution. It's a beautiful technology. It's a beautiful thing if you do it in the right time and in the right season. You could look at Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development. You got trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, right? Initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus role confusion, intimacy versus isolation. Intimacy versus isolation is like from the period of 19 years of age through 29. I got married during a time where I didn't even know my adult self. Had childhood and teenage issues that I had not worked out. Yes, Mr. J, you all didn't know each other as much as well. Absolutely. Who you are in your childhood and teenage years is not who you're going to be in your 20s, not who you're going to be in your 30s, not who you're going to be in your 40s, not who you see what I'm saying? Every decade and with exposure to different life circumstances does things to you as you begin to move forward in this life. And depending upon how you are as a person, you can either evolve or you could be stuck in psychological discontinuity. In other words, your body will grow, but your mind is still stuck in whatever those stages are in your development psychologically that you didn't go through, grow out of, learn through, stuff like that. And so, are you qualified for the marriage that you want? If, in fact, the reason for getting married is for family. Are you qualified to be head of household? Are you qualified to be a father? Are you qualified to be a husband? Are you qualified to be a mother? Are you qualified to be a wife? Those are things that actually matter. And given that we look at black culture, let's go there because I'm black, right? Black culture has a saying, there is no manual for parenting. And I know it may not be exclusive to black culture, but that's where I hear it the most. That perhaps is the most ignorant statement that I have ever heard regurgitated by someone who's supposed to be your trusted big person, your parents, all knowing, all this, all that. In fact, a lot of the mistakes that black boys end up making is because we have ignorant parents. Ignorant, by definition, simply means they don't know, right? There's no manual for parenting. We live down the street by a library. You just don't want to admit you don't know how to read very well. Does that make sense? So there are definitely manuals for parenting. There are definitely manuals for the science of family. What is it called? Home economics. Family and consumer sciences, as it's called today, right? Why would you go to a divorce lawyer and learn about marriage? Because they can teach you about why it breaks, because they see it break all the time. They know the issues of marriage very intimately because they have to litigate it all the time. They have to litigate it. You see what I'm saying? Why wouldn't you go talk to a family life educator to have them assess whether or not you're qualified for family? What knowledge, skills, abilities, competence, and confidence you have to even be said head of household? Better yet, if you're in this space of intimacy versus isolation, which is a period of time from 19 through 29, right? Why are you dragging your newfound family, your newly created family, through your newfound adventures in establishing your career? Does that make sense? You're just getting on the job. You're just getting into your career. You're just making, how many of you in getting a career or getting into a career, you understand that you have to do a lot. You have to do a lot to get your foot in the door. You have to do a lot. Why would you drag your newfound family, your newborn child? Why would you drag? You said, let's not make excuses about marriage. What does that mean? These are not excuses. These are rational things to think about. These are rational things to think about. You see? Proverbs 24:3-4. I'm going to go biblical with you on this, okay? Now, I'm just using the Bible as a reference, right? Proverbs 24:3-4. With wisdom, houses are built. With knowledge, its rooms are filled with treasure. What is the definition of wisdom? The quality of being wise in having knowledge, experience, and good judgment. Do you have knowledge? If you haven't been taught anything about family and consumer sciences, then the answer is no. Do you have experience? No, you haven't been allowed to practice in any of these things to learn about marriage and family and child development and early childhood education and any of those other subjects that come with learning about family and consumer sciences, budgeting and economics, sewing, textiles, clothing management, education and community awareness. I can go on for days. So then if you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the experience, then no, you don't have the good judgment. So how do you think these rooms are going to fill with treasure? What are you going to do? You're going to go to work, you're going to provide, and you're going to give gifts because that's all you know. That's all you know. Now, Soulful Barber, you said meaning we should know our partners. But if you don't know anything about the science of things, what is going to be the system upon which you gauge who your partner is or even who you are. If you don't know anything about process, what type of product are you looking to produce? Jay Brook, that's an awesome thing you said. If you're starting out a job, it takes time to get into the flow. Do you want your family to be subjected to all of your mistakes until you get it right? Or do you want to get your motion first? Yes. Beautiful statement, Jay Brook. And that is why if you start a family during the intimacy and isolation period, which is a period in Erik Erikson's psychosocial, you get what I'm saying, slump, right? If you start a family during that intimacy versus isolation period in Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development, you are planting a seed of family out of season. You are planting a seed of family out of season. Much like the farmer who during the winter time, if you know anything about the science of farming, during the winter time is the worst time to be trying to plant. Why? It's not the season for planting yet. During the time of 19 through 29 is one of the worst times to be trying to get married and create a family. Why? You are a newly born adult trying to make sense of an abstract world when psychologically and developmentally you may be stuck in your childhood experiences and in your teenage negative experiences. Thank you for the super chat from the United Kingdom. Thank you for that. Does that make sense? And see, that's what I'm saying. A lot of us have struggled in our relationships. A lot of us have struggled in our marriages because we do things out of season. We do things out of season. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's what you're taught. It's not your fault. It's what you're taught. I got a client who I've talked to just recently. And I had to encourage him and show him how loneliness is the gateway for terrible life decisions. Loneliness is the gateway for terrible life decisions. I'll say it one more time. Loneliness is the gateway for terrible life decisions. Why is loneliness the gateway for terrible life decisions? Because there is a huge difference between alone and lonely. Alone and lonely. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to flip the camera around. How many of you all are valuing this conversation? I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to show you. I hope you all are valuing this conversation. I'll elaborate, Slump. I got you. I'm going to show you because I want to show you. Here we go. I need to blow it up. All right, this will help. Good. Here we go. So this is what I mean. Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development, okay? And these are the conflicts right here. You've got trust versus mistrust. You've got autonomy versus shame and doubt. Can you all see this? Sound off in the comments. You got initiative versus guilt. You got industry versus inferiority. You got identity versus role confusion, right? You got intimacy versus isolation. Then you've got generativity versus stagnation. And then you've got integrity versus despair. And these are the age ranges. At your infancy stage, it's 0 to 1 year. Trust versus mistrust, right? Now, this is taught in early childhood education. You got your sensory motor. Jean Piaget, your theory of cognitive development, how your brain develops. What is the sensory motor? You're sensing things, you're doing things. You're sensing things, you're doing things. You don't have the ability to really do that much understanding. You're just sensing things, you're feeling things, and you're doing things, right? Then once you get to 1 to 3 years, here we go. Autonomy versus shame and doubt. Autonomy versus shame and doubt. If trust is established within your home, okay? If autonomy is established within your home, or trust is established within your home, then your parents allow you the ability to feel free to go and try to learn things, right? To go and try to learn things. A lot of our homes are not set up for developmentally appropriate practices of exploration and play. A lot of our homes are set up where parents end up saying no a lot, because every time you try to go and do something, they don't want you to break stuff. They don't want you to hurt stuff. They don't want you to damage stuff. So they end up saying no. What can that do to you? When you're in your sensory motor, it makes you feel shame. Shame is defined as the painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. Every time you try to do something, you're made to feel like you're wrong. When you're sensing things and you're doing things, what virtue does that give you? The will to want to learn, developing a sense of independence in many tasks, right? Here we go. And you could be stuck in a level of psychological discontinuity. Now, you don't have to stay there, but this is just to show you how you end up creating a child or a family out of season during intimacy and isolation, okay? Here we go, play age. Provided you're allowed to be autonomous and you develop the will to want to learn things, you take the initiative to want to learn even more. Where if you're constantly being told no, 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 you develop guilt, right? You always got to get it perfect. And if you don't get it perfect, you feel guilty during the pre-operational phase, right? During the pre-operational phase, that could affect your purpose. It could affect you taking initiative on some activities, but you could develop guilt, right? Then let's get to it. Here we go. During ages 7 to 11, industry versus inferiority, the inferiority complex. In the concrete operational phase, it's either black or white. Either you're my friend or you're my enemy. Either you're with me or you're against me. You're not able to think in abstract things like that. Think outside the box. Because in some homes, you're still stuck in that box. See, when your parents have mistrust about the world, when they have shame and doubt on them, when they feel guilty, when they are inferior, when they are confused in their role, when they feel lonely. Isolation isn't a bad thing. It just means you're by yourself. But when that has been weaponized and they feel lonely, which is a sadness when friends or company isn't there, when they feel stagnant and they haven't really gone anywhere, when they feel in despair, they spill that stuff onto you because they can't give you what they don't have, right? Here we go. Industry. What does industry do? You become industrious. It gives you competence, right? Look at all these virtues that are positive that you get. You develop self-confidence, right? In abilities when competent, or a sense of inferiority when not, right? Here we go. Then you get to the teenage years. You're in high school now. Look at all this stuff you might have on you. Mistrust, shame and doubt, guilt, inferiority. Now, there's a difference between inferiority and the inferiority complex, according to Alfred Adler. I'm an Adlerian therapeutic educator. I subscribe to Alfred Adler. Okay, inferiority can be good, but the inferiority complex is when you're in inferiority and it's too deep. Okay, here we go. Identity versus role confusion. This is during the formal operation. You start to get into abstract, right? That life is not just black and white, black and white. You said everything you're teaching has been written down. Yes, I do write these things down. I am a professor in certain things. Yes, I teach criminal justice, but I infuse this stuff into that, okay? Here we go. Fidelity. You experiment with and developing your identity and your roles. You start to develop, you know, which political parties you affiliate with. which, values you affiliate with, things like that. You identify with certain things. This happens during your high school years. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about early adulthood, right? What did I say? Intimacy versus isolation. That age range is from 19 through 29 years. This is when I started my family. This is probably when a percentage of you all started your families, stuff like that. I can email you this copy. I can email you this copy. I'm going to tell you my email address. Be prepared to take it down. Mike@MikeBrownsClasses.com. Mike@MikeBrownsClasses.com. I will email you this, okay? Because Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development doesn't break it down like this is an addendum. This is something that I added to it, right? Because I'll tell you my theory in just a little bit, right? Here we go. And there's a reason why I have this highlighted in blue, okay? During early adulthood, 19 through 29 years of age, the prefrontal cortex in the brain fully develops at 25. Or 25 or some time thereafter. What is the prefrontal cortex? The prefrontal cortex is where logic and reasoning and things like that still needs to be developed. I argue that when isolation has been weaponized, right? Because that's the theory behind Erik Erikson's theory, that this is a conflict of good versus bad, this versus that, this versus that, this versus that. But isolation is not a bad thing. Isolation is necessary during this period of early adulthood so you can be into yourself. See, Erik Erikson talked about intimacy in establishing relationships early on, but for certain people where you didn't get this stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that we did not get, what happens is, right, the virtue is love that you're supposed to get in this stage of intimacy versus isolation. But the problem is, how many of you all have heard of the 5 love languages? Sign off in the comments if you've heard of the 5 love languages. 5 love languages. You got physical touch. There we go. Thank you for emailing. You got physical touch. You got acts of service. You got words of affirmation. You got gifts, and you got quality time. But how many of you all have heard of the 7 love languages? The 7 love languages. Not the 7 love languages, but the 7 love types. 7 love types. It's in the Greek, right? And love in the Greek is philaudia. That's one of those. That's self-love. Here we go. I argue that you need to establish intimacy, into-me-see, and establish the relationship with oneself first before you seek meaningful relationships with others. Before you seek meaningful relationships with others. Learning the 4 relationship types: targeted, tentative, transactional, and trusted. When you are in trauma, you are looking for a more knowledgeable other, according to Lev Vygotsky, right? You're looking for a more knowledgeable other. You're stuck in that zone of quasi-proximal development, and you start your relationships out with trust when you don't even know if this person will even be one to be trusted or good. You need isolation during this time so you can study more. That's why I argue against Erik Erikson's conflict, that intimacy versus isolation. Isolation is not a bad thing. You need isolation so you can understand the self. So that when you get, especially as a male, I understand females, you have a biological clock, you have to work with that, I get that. But for males, the period of 30 through 64, that's generativity versus stagnation. That is the time to contribute to society and be part of a family where you actually have the skills to be able to care for that family. You don't have those skills through 19 through 29. You're still trying to find yourself. You're still trying to find your career. You need the time to be able to make certain mistakes. You need the time to be able to find who you are. You need the time to go to school and learn things about early childhood education, learn about family and consumer sciences, get enough funds where you actually have the money to be able to take care of not only yourself, but a family, a prenuptial agreement at 30 through 64 makes sense when you've amassed knowledge, skills, abilities, competence, and confidence and assets worth protecting. It makes sense. And when you try to create a child during the early adulthood, when you're new as an adult, when you may have been, because of your negative childhood experiences, often termed as trauma, you're planting a seed into your family's legacy, into the ground, into the womb, into that woman, into that man, out of season. It's not ripe enough. You're not ready yet. You're not qualified yet. Proverbs 24:3-4, with wisdom, houses are built. With knowledge, its rooms are filled with treasure. You don't have wisdom by definition. It doesn't mean you're worth less. It just means you don't have wisdom. You don't have the knowledge, skill, ability, competence, and confidence in this space. So it's doomed for failure. And that failure is an unnecessary failure. It's an unnecessary mistake. Does that make sense? 420 somewhere, you asked me, did I make this chart? This chart I made. It was inspired by Eric Erickson's chart. I just took someone else's representation of Eric Erickson's chart and began to plug the holes of where the problem is, because I argue that there is a difference between being alone and lonely. How many of you all are still here? Sign off in the comments. There's a difference between alone and lonely, and that you actually need alone. Think about how many songs in the cultures that you align with where they weaponize loneliness. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be without you. Mary J. Blige, can't live without you. Can't live without you, babe. Oh, you see what I'm saying? You got all these different songs, and here you go. Oh, never want to live without you, babe. Always be. You got all these different songs that weaponize being alone. You even see it in Mary J. Blige. I don't want to be alone. What does that do? It gets into your ears. It gets into your brain, and it makes you dislike being alone. When alone by definition means no one's there. How many of you have found peace with no one being there? How many of you found a moment to yourself? You were able to think things were clear when you were by yourself. Does that make sense? When you were by yourself. You know, you need that period to be by yourself, right? And so, who taught you loneliness? When society, culture, and family weaponizes being alone, and when do they do that? They do that at early childhood. They do that at early childhood. What happens is when you have parents who have had children for their self-adequacy, so they can feel worth, so they can feel value, so they've adopted an identity by having children to make themselves feel good. What does that do? The child is never allowed to be alone and develop things that they can do during these periods of loneliness, or these periods of alone, if you will. You see what I'm saying? And so what does that do? When the parents don't let you be alone and develop things to do. Right now, I'm in an early childhood education course. And in the early childhood education course, we're talking about process art versus product art. Process art is enjoying the process of creating what it becomes. It is what it is. But when the parents are looking for an outcome, when they take your process and turn it into product, what does that say to you? That you'll always need me as your parent. That you're never enough by yourself. And what does that do? Then you get to the period of intimacy versus isolation. and you're afraid to be alone. You're quick to get into relationships. The thought of peace is disturbing. It's disturbing. You don't want to be by yourself. But then when you get divorced, guess what? You're by yourself. When the relationships with your children don't go well because one person weaponizes the children against you, guess where you are? By yourself. You're by yourself. Now having to learn these things all again. Does that make sense? And so when isolation is weaponized and you fear being alone, you said you fear I won't get married. Well, no, I won't. I don't have a need to get married. That doesn't mean I won't have meaningful life partnerships. But for me, there's no need to establish a legal partnership where someone has. See, some people don't even understand marital law. You see what I'm saying? That's why you need intimacy versus isolation. You need that period. Studying family and consumer sciences, studying family law, understanding the purposes of marriage and what a prenuptial agreement actually is, how it actually protects your assets, how you maintain it throughout the course of, yes, Jay Brook, you are literally going into business with someone when you get married. People don't understand that. We're not talking about the covenant as religion sees it. We're talking about the official state of marriage. You are joining. It is like Sprint and T-Mobile merging. That's what marriage is. Your social and this person's social merging to form an entity. And when you are not taught anything about marital law, this is why you're blindsided by the things that your wife or husband can and can't do, because you don't understand. Proverbs 24:3-4, with wisdom houses are built, with knowledge its rooms are filled with treasure. The house of your mind is not built. The rooms of the parts of your brain are not filled with the treasure of the knowledge you need to know before you create this entity. Does that make sense? And so where does it begin? It begins in early childhood. Society allows what culture cultivates and influences for families to teach and share what you will ultimately know and do. Tristan, we started off talking about Elon, and then I just went into this because they were asking me what I was certified in, and I said, test me, and somebody asked a question, and we went into this. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, yeah, that's where we went into this. So I hope I answered your question. Marriage is useful, but you would have to be the one to decide what use is it going to be for you, and are you qualified to go down that road for whatever you want to use marriage for. Yeah. And then the thing is that we don't teach our children to avoid these unnecessary mistakes. We don't teach them to avoid that. Somebody said in the comments, love conquers all. What type of love? You have 7 types of love that are out there. Eros, storge, ludus, agape, philia, philaudia, pragma. These are all in the Greek. Eros, romantic love. Storge, parent-child love. Ludus, uncommitted, playful love. Agape, godlike love. More of a higher universal love, right? Philia, general universal brotherly love. Pragma, love of one's self-interest. And then philaudia, self-love. So when you take the 5 love languages, physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts, and quality time, and then you combine that with the 7 love languages, with the 7 love types, you don't even know what type of love is conquering the all that you're speaking of. Love conquers all. Yes, when you don't know anything about marriage and she cleans your clock in court, yes, she loves you. Loves you enough to take your stuff. And I'm not mad. That's Philadia, self-love. Pragma, love of one's interest. Ludus, she loved you during the time she needed you. Now she doesn't need you, which is her right. Now she needs someone else. Ludus, it's uncommitted. You thought it was something else. See, you two have been saying, I love you, but you don't know the love that someone is loving you with. And if you don't know the love that someone is loving you with, your eyes are not open to the way in which they move. But if you would have examined the family history, that's why I can't, hold on, I got a workbook. Where is it at? There it is, good, not far away. I'm glad I don't have to go far away. See, I do a lot to help people. The Family Credit Report, this is one of my workbooks. You can find this on Amazon. The Family Credit Report. I would argue that before you even call yourself getting married, you need to get these 2 workbooks. You need to get these 2 workbooks. The Family Credit Report and the Trouble Analysis. Both of these workbooks will help you open your eyes to not only what you know and don't know, but what the other person doesn't know and does know, and one's intentions. You don't even know if the relationship that you're about to get in is transactional, reciprocal, beneficial, logical, or emotional. You could be making you could be making a decision purely out of emotions, and you don't understand any of these things. The Trouble Analysis. Family Credit Report. Why do you run a credit report? You run a credit report to find out a person's credit worthiness, right? You're not going to be able to run a family credit report because those things are not on any type of, you have to ask those things. You have to analyze certain things. What does it say? The Family Credit Report, a knowledge, skill, and ability assessment of probability, not certainty, but probability of your readiness for family. How does she know what a husband is like if she hasn't been around a bunch of husbands? How do you know what a wife is like if all the women in your family have never been wives? What skills do they have? Did they teach you those skills? And if they didn't teach you those skills, how are you qualified for husbandry? What cultures do you, and it's a workbook, that's what it is. What cultures do you belong to? What cultures have you identified with? What do they say about family and its structure? You need to work those things out with a pencil. You need to work those things out. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. It's time to start knowing. Just some simple checklist, right? Does the culture I belong to have teachers and classes in the following skills? Cooking, child development, health and hygiene, home management and design, education and community awareness, sewing, textiles, clothing management, budgeting and economics, family defense, self-defense, home defense, fire safety. Does that make sense? Like, if you haven't been taught these things, is my mother trained in the following skills? Is my father trained in the following skills? Same thing I just asked, right? Are my siblings trained in the following skills? Am I trained in the following skills and have been stress tested in those following skills? Do I have lesson plans, prior class notes, other training information from my past in the following skills? If you don't have any of those notes from your prior training, what do you have as a guide for when you decide you want to start a family? What do you have as a guide? You don't have one. So then when you say, oh, there's no need to have any of those things, you're lying to yourself just to get into that marriage. Because there's something else you want out that marriage. There's something else you want out that marriage. You want comfort. You don't want to be alone. You want the sex. Does that make sense? I'm just saying. If you're starting a family for the purposes of family, these things can help you. If you're starting a family for other things, hey. Now, you said you have to teach one another. That's not realistic. That's not realistic at all. That's not, I mean, don't get me wrong. That's real, but it's not realistic. You're right, but that's not realistic of most marriages. That's not realistic of most marriages. Because how do you know if this person is even teachable? How do you know their relationship with learning? How do you know their relationship with learning? Now, you said, what about communication and trust in marriage? Here we go. Communication is very important. But how do you communicate with someone who you don't know and you don't really know their value systems? You don't know their value systems. You don't know their culture. You haven't taken a dive into the family. For me, family is a big indicator of who you are at present. And then once I dive into your family, it'll help me explain where you came from. Then I would want to know, what have you learned along your journey in your adulthood to be different from any of the negative stuff that your family may have put you through that you didn't ask for? Who was your more knowledgeable other? What type of library do you have? Who do you listen to? Who or what do you study to make yourself different? Does that make sense? So you're talking about communication and trust. I think no one trusts people more than someone who's getting into a trauma bonding marriage. You said you didn't have a guide in 42 years. I don't know what that means. When somebody starts talking about longevity in marriages and they start talking about how long they've been married, what does that mean? What does that mean? You said that's why marriage is a gamble and the odds are bad right now. Yeah, marriage is a gamble now because no one's being taught anything about family. People are just getting married to find comfort and to have more sex and to have a safe person and stability. But is it designed to go the distance? Does that make sense? Thank you, Taco Jonte. Appreciate that. Is it designed to go the distance? That's all that I'm saying. And the thing is, your marriage may not, one of the delusional aspects of the marital vows is to having to hold goodness and bad, sickness and health, this and that, forsaking all others till death do you part. First of all, how do you even know it's supposed to last the distance? That's number one. Your marriage may just be a 10-year marriage, right? Number two, if it does last that short period of time, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's subjective. It depends. For me, it was a great thing. It was a great thing because it lasted how it was supposed to last. It went the road it went down, but not for those things. I would not be who I am today to know what I know, to be able to teach what I teach. And the minute people start talking about, well, how long have you been married? 21 years legally. How long have we been separated? Shit, damn near 16 of those 21 years. And that doesn't make her a bad person, but we were not qualified for each other when we got married at such a young age. I started a family out of season. Family credit report. Most of my family unmarried. Most of my please, oh my God, most of my family unmarried, horribly unqualified. When I got educated and started looking back into my family, it helped me see how I was set up for failure. A lot of us are set up for failure by our family. You think just because your family put food on the table, clothes on your back, a roof over your head, pot to piss in and window to throw it out of, that they are all knowing and all knowledgeable. A lot of our ignorance has come from the ignorance from our family. We have a huge ignorant family tree. A huge ignorant family tree. And people want to talk about breaking the cycle of generational curses. Nah, it ain't the generational curse you need to break, baby. It's the ignorance that you need to break. The willful ignorance. The minute your mom or your dad start to say there is no manual for parenting, you automatically need to shut them off. You need to shut them, love them if you choose, but shut them off. That's why you're in the hole that you're in. Their ignorance is being put on you. What do you mean there's no manual for parenting? We live right down the street by a library. You never really took me. I can't recall you even reading a book. I can't even recall you even reading things from a book. You don't quote any philosophers. You don't quote anybody. It's just you. That's why I'm dumb, because you dumb. Respectfully. That's why I don't know, because you ignorant. And then the minute a child tries to go and learn more than the parent, then the parent wants to shut that child down. A lot of us come from homes just like that. And you got to be careful of the words that you use, because you hear certain people say generational curses, generational curses. That sounds so macro. Let's go micro. Let's go with some little words. It's not generational. It's miseducational. Miseducational. The mistakes you've made is because of the miseducation and the misguidance from your mistaken parents. Now, you said, and you didn't even touch what the government is doing to the family structure and daily lives. It sure didn't help. But who keeps the government in the home? The parents. You don't have to stay ignorant. Black culture used to be proud of looking up things in a book, looking up things in the dictionary. One of the games I love playing with my clients is what I think it means versus what it actually means. I love helping my clients look in the dictionary after they give me their definition of what I think it means. And then when they learn the actual term of what the dictionary says this word means, how that is just an eye-opening in and of itself. You mean to tell me respect isn't treat others as you would have to be treated? No, that's not respect. That's manners. Manners is a way in which one behaves. Respect, by definition, is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by attributes, qualities, achievements, and etc. So you mean to tell me I don't have to respect anyone? You don't have to respect anyone you don't want to. You are the one who decides who you like. You mean to tell me I don't have to like you? No, you don't have to like me. And I value you if you say you don't, because you are the one who decides who you like and who you don't. But ignorant parents who are stuck in their childhood trauma will never let a child own their own feelings. And children who are not allowed to own their own feelings become child parent pleasers, who then become adult people pleasers. You please adults because you were taught how to please your parents. You were taught to ignore your emotions. You were taught to ignore yourself. You were taught to devalue yourself so your parents could feel good about themselves for their entertainment at your expense. And then you kept going as an adult. You're hard on yourself for no reason. You don't like to learn because learning has been made to hurt. You beat up on yourself because your parents kept you in that misery. Your parents were depressed, and so you feel depressed. But you can pull yourself out of that depression. You don't have to stay in that state of mind. You are valued. You are acknowledged. You are seen. You are heard. You are acknowledged when you start to acknowledge yourself. You are seen when you start to see yourself. You are heard when you start to hear yourself. Does that make sense? Self-evaluation, yes. Because you hear people talking about, well, a lot of people they just want to be seen. They just want to be seen. They just want to be acknowledged. By who? You don't see yourself? You don't acknowledge yourself? See yourself. Acknowledge yourself. You don't need acknowledgement from someone else. You don't need to be seen by someone else. See yourself. Acknowledge yourself. Come to terms that loneliness is not something that you should feel. Alone is necessary so you can find yourself. And once you develop a great relationship with yourself, you'll see the world differently. You'll see the world differently. You'll see the world differently. All right, 5 minutes. I got to open up my spot so I can start office hours. Oh, this was great. Do you all want me to do more of these lives like this? I don't want my instructor Mike page to be just about guns. We can talk about guns, cool, but life is more than just that. Do y'all want me to do more of these? Okay. I'll do more of these. Turn on your notifications. Please turn on your notifications. Share this. I'll do more of these. I will do more of these. I am more than just a gun instructor. You said come back live tonight? Bet. I got it. You want it? I got it. No, I'm going to do it on this channel. You said secondary channel. I tried to do it on secondary channels. It doesn't. I'm already 1 million subs into this. So I'm going to do it in this. I'm going to do it in this. I'm going to do it in this. I'm going to come back live tonight, okay? I got a client today at 5:30. If you all unsubscribe, resubscribe, hit that bell for notifications because YouTube does that thing, it would help out, okay? It would help out. You said I should go into counseling. That's what I do now. I'm an anger management specialist. I teach parenting. I'm an Adlerian therapeutic educator. That's what I do now. I don't just do guns. I teach parenting. I do a lot of stuff in that space. No, you're good. You didn't know. You didn't know. But yeah, that's what I do now. That's what I do now. So I'll come back. Okay? I'll come back because I'm more than just guns, man. So I'm gonna use this page and this platform for just that. Okay? Stay safe. I'm not gonna leave this video up. Okay? I'll just come back again later on tonight because I don't even want to talk about the Elon Musk thing. I don't want to talk about that. There's so much more to life than just that. So I'm gonna wait a minute. I might do something with these clips. I might leave it up. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it up. But I'm gonna do something with these clips. And then I'm gonna take the clips, then I'm gonna take this down. So, all right, I'll see y'all later. Peace. I heard you, Eggy. I heard you. Yes. Yeah, I'll leave it up. All right. Thank you, Ariel. Yeah, okay. I'll leave it. Share it. And then invite some more people. Come back tonight. I want this to be an inspirational channel. Okay? All right.